I made it smaller, but this is the new moon in Taurus at 18 degrees. And Sonia, do you want to speak about this? Apologies that this is actually not smaller like I thought it would be, but we've got the chart up, so that'll work.
Yeah. Well, we love new moons as seeding moments because the moon is less visible in the sky, which usually come after a dark moon, a balsamic moment where we've released. And then the new moon comes as like this new start of it, where we can seed in the cycle of what we're beginning and what we want to grow when we're taking it forward. And this moon seems particularly benefic because it's coming when Venus is in her rulership sign, and we've got the the Jupiter Uranus conjunction is still there, and it's still, although it's starting to separate, they're still within the orb of meeting each other. So we've still got all of that energy coming together with this new moon. So it's like, okay, this is the cherry on top of the cake, I feel, of like, yeah, really get it going. And we've got this decan of abundance, really, this nice decan. The Taurus decans aren't always kind, and Krista and I did a full episode going through the 3 decans of Taurus sort of in more detail. But this is the fixed decan of the fixed signs. And I've got 3 different people giving 3 different words. We've got Kira Ryberg offers us balance. And the Wild Way deck, if you can see the card there, says give to receive. And Austin Kopic gives us the symbol that I hadn't seen before called the Linga Yoni, the combination of the penis and the vagina, and the creative passion and that initiatory energy of what can be created when 2 things come together, I suppose, and literally planting a seed and creating something greater than what the 2 things that have come together are. And the decan rulers here are Mercury and the moon. Krista and I spoke about Mercury and the moon and what they signify, and part of it can be the visibility and the fact that both of them can ebb and flow. And Janessa's already talked about how Mercury travels and can reach the parts that other planets can't reach, down into the underworld and up higher than any of the planets as well. And he's got that stitch element that we've spoken about before as well, where he travels back on himself, creating a stitch pattern in the sky, almost, where we go back over what we've done before and we get a chance to do it better again. And the same with the moon in her cycles. It's like a serpentine cycle, so she can ebb and flow. And this is what we're saying about abundance, that too can ebb and flow. So even when we have the abundance, we need to look after it, take care, but also be careful of what we share with others and how we nurture it and look after it. And that's the idea of the give to receive as well, that if we're in the lucky position of having abundance, how do we share it and to take responsibility for it when we're sharing it with others? So we've been given these keywords of, I'm going to read it because I haven't, balance, work and pleasure, seasonal rhythms, and fertility and fecundity. So it's reminding us that this is like, it's springtime, it's May Day dances, and, would you say the sap is rising? To be PC about it. I don't know. But there would be fertility dances at this time traditionally, and people would have been hand-fasted and wed, and it would be a time for mating and literal planting of seeds in that sense. And then that seed would need to be nurtured. So whether it is a pregnancy that you're planning, or a business, or anything, any project that you're planning, you need to nurture it and plan for it. And that's what we do at new moons. We set our intentions of what are we planning, what are we starting, and how do we plan to nurture it through. What is it going to need from us? But also let the natural cycles take their part as well. The things that we can't control, the sunlight that it needs, the water that it needs to nourish it, and allow them to do their work as well. So that's what I've got on this moon.
That's beautiful.
Does anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chart. It's so interesting. It seems like all of the outers are involved. But I mean, the trine or the sextile from Saturn to the new moon feels very much like whatever's being planted has longevity. And then, yeah, the Uranus being there too, it kind of feels like whatever blooms out of this seed eventually, it might be kind of a surprise, or it's like, what is this, just like a mystery seed that we're planting? You know, there are many ways that could play out, or do we know what we're planting? You know, obviously, you could be really intentional around new moons with what you're doing, but there's always these other seeds, these volunteer trees that pop up, you know, when we don't always realize. Kind of like what Krista was saying with, you know, just taking a job at a grocery store. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what fruit comes from this.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a seed bomb. You know, like they've got both benefics, you know, on either end of that Taurus house. You've got the moon exalted in Taurus with the sun, and then you have Uranus there. It's like, yeah, do things with intention, but also just do a bunch of things, because if you just plant a ton of seeds, if you just ball up a bunch of seeds and then throw them in an empty parking lot, they're probably going to bloom and then be that surprise, like Janessa was saying. Also, what got my attention is Mercury conjoined Chiron. It can't see the new moon, so it's doing its whole other thing. That as like that message of that wound in the Aries house. But I love all of those planets there in Taurus with an exalted new moon. I just think that yes, be intentional. You know, I talked earlier privately about you being impeccable with your word and how much power words have. That when you speak things out loud, you are planting those seeds in reality. And so be very particular with your word. But also, I agree with Janessa. I think there's just going to be some surprise seeds that just pop up, these volunteers of these exotic natures that you didn't even realize that you had planted. So um, definitely, I think my favorite new moon so far. And also, I just love the word fecundity. It cracks me up because it's just so perfect for a Taurus moon.